Since that historic day back in 2011, Prince William and Kate Middleton have become one of the most treasured and famous couples on the planet. Given their somewhat different backgrounds, family life was always going to be extremely important to both William and Kate, and with the birth of Prince George in 2013 came a new chapter in their lives.
Well, the birth of Prince George was really like a national celebration. It felt like a national holiday. There was excitement in the air all around the country.
Well, actually, I've covered the royal family for 25 years, and the excitement around the birth of Prince George has surpassed most of the things that I'd covered, actually, even the royal weddings.
Excitement is building as the nation prepares to welcome another royal baby.
The smart money at the moment is that this baby is a girl. Kate apparently has been craving sweets the entire pregnancy, particularly chocolate, and she was overheard saying that she thinks it's got to be a girl because it's such a different pregnancy than she had the last time with George.
The big money is on Princess Alice, and Alice, of course, was the name of one of Queen Victoria's daughters, so that now is at 2-to-1 favourite, and the boys' names are at 20-to-1. So it seems since Kate was out in public and she said that she thinks it's a girl because she's eaten a lot of chocolate. Yeah, it seems that seems to be favourite, that the little girl would add a lot of interest, I think.
William and Kate are determined to build a very happy home life for their children. I think that is of paramount importance to both of them. One of the reasons he fell so deeply in love with Kate Middleton was her very British upbringing, her very close family, and William is determined to replicate that as best as he can within the confines and strictures of the palace.
Enjoy the story of the fairy tale romance that has captivated the world. As Kate Middleton has been welcomed into the royal family, she has been thrust into the public eye, and for someone who has come from outside the monarchy, it was no surprise that it took her time to get to grips with the roles and responsibilities that she must now undertake.
Kate Middleton, unfortunately, has a lot of talents, but public speaking is not one of her natural gifts. She finds it very difficult. She tends to get rather nervous and a little bit unsettled, and the whole thing of getting up in front of the rest of the world with cameras pointed at you is very, very challenging for her. And to be honest, who wouldn't find it challenging? You know, this is a young woman who really wasn't raised in the public eye to any degree, and also isn't a naturally gifted speaker. So with all the attention on her, and she's quite shy as well, it just complicates things and makes it very difficult. And then, of course, we saw her first speech as a duchess. And, you know, what we saw there is a very beautiful young woman with notes in front of her who couldn't say more than 4 or 5 words without looking down again to figure out what she was going to say next.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for not only accepting me as your patron, but thank you also for inviting me here today. You have all made me feel so welcome, and I feel hugely honoured to be here to see this wonderful centre. I'm only sorry that William can't be here today. He would love it here.
It was a very stilted performance, and she was widely criticized in the press. But again, you have to remember that this is a young woman who is not running for public office, and she wasn't even born into a royal family. She's coming in from the outside, and she's trying to make everybody happy, even though it's not necessarily her own natural gift to stand up in front of people.
It's very difficult, I think, for anybody who's come from the outside of the royal family to a full-on public figure to be brilliant at public speaking straight away.
So thank you again for inviting me here today. I feel enormously proud to be part of East Anglia's children's hospices and to see the wonderful, life-changing work that you do. Thank you.
From the time she delivered her first speech as patron of the East Anglian hospices, when she was certainly a little stilted, a little bit nervous, to the time that she delivered a similar speech on the royal tour of the Far East, she was far more relaxed. She seemed to be more confident and had more belief in what she was saying. And when she delivered her speech in Sydney at another hospice, she seemed to have nailed it. What's important, I think, is to remember that when you're making these speeches at such places. You know, it's very emotional. She's just been to see a lot of children that are dying, to put no finer point on it. They're meeting the parents who are coping with this, and it's emotional. And so what she has learnt, to put it bluntly, is to try to become slightly more detached. It's something that I think Prince William and other members of the royal family have had to do, because if you absorb all of the tragedy of the things you're seeing all the time, it's deeply emotional and deeply difficult to deliver a speech.
On December 3rd, 2012, Clarence House announced that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge were expecting their first child. However, the birth announcement did not go according to plan.
Kate was forced to announce prior to being 12 weeks pregnant that she was in fact expecting, because she was hospitalized for very, very severe morning sickness. She suffers for something called hyperemesis gravidarum, which is a very somewhat rare form of extreme morning sickness. This goes way beyond the typical nausea and discomfort that most women feel. This is very extreme, where the mother-to-be is unable to keep down any solids or even sometimes liquids. It can be quite serious, both for mother and baby.
Obviously, there'd been an awful lot of anticipation as when Kate was going to announce that she was pregnant. I mean, in fact, I think the announcement was suggested for about 6 months beforehand. Everyone was writing in the papers that she was pregnant. The palace had put out the official announcement as she was en route to the hospital because she'd had problems with the pregnancy, and it was felt that William and Kate didn't want to even tell the Queen or Prince Charles that she was pregnant until they were absolutely certain everything was okay. So that's what happened. The actual announcement happened because she was feeling unwell and was taken to hospital.
You know, William and Kate had talked at length about how they wanted to make this announcement to the world, and it certainly wasn't going to be this way and at that stage in the pregnancy. Most celebrities, particularly royals, wait until that first trimester is finished before they make any happy announcements.
The Duchess was admitted to St. Mary's Hospital in London in the early stages of labor on the morning of July 22, 2013, and gave birth to a baby boy weighing 8 pounds and 6 ounces at 4:24 p.m. that same day. On July 24, 2013, Kensington Palace announced that the baby would be named George Alexander Louis.
Well, the birth of Prince George was really like a national celebration. It felt like a national holiday. There was excitement in the air all around the country. It very much reminded me of the feeling of the royal wedding day when William and Kate got married. Everyone was universally happy. Everyone was constantly checking the news feeds on their phone and on the television in order to see, waiting for William and Kate to come out from the hospital for the first time, holding the new baby prince.
Well, actually, I've covered the royal family for 25 years, and the excitement around the birth of Prince George has surpassed most of the things I'd covered, actually, even the royal weddings. And it was a huge bun fight, if you like, outside the Lindo wing of the St. Mary's Hospital, Paddington. There were hundreds of journalists there, as well as camera crews and members of the public. And so it was, the excitement began to gather when, of course, she was snuck in the back door and was actually inside the hospital.
I have several friends actually with news organizations who were standing outside the hospital that day, waiting hours after hour for William and Kate to come out. And actually, they came out quite a bit later than expected, because typical William and Kate's strategy fashion, they were greeting and thanking every single member of staff at the hospital personally for the very smooth birth. They wanted to make sure they thanked everyone from the cleaner to the midwife to the surgeon to say thank you very much. So they did actually take a long time to emerge. When they did, Kate was roundly praised in the press for her choice of dress. You know, a lot of women, when they first have a baby, are very self-conscious about the fact that they oftentimes still look pregnant. They still have a very swollen stomach. Kate was not at all ashamed of this. In fact, wore a dress which highlighted the fact that she still had a very rounded tummy. And a lot of women praised her for this, said that it made a difference because it kind of just emphasized the fact that women don't need to be ashamed of their bodies when they've had a baby. And it was really a lovely thing that she did. She came out, she was absolutely beautiful and radiant. I'm sure she had some help with makeup and hair. In fact, we saw some of her stylists coming into the hospital before she emerged. So we know that she had a little help, but she did look fantastic, and they looked absolutely in love. As William and Kate were leaving their press call, when they came out with the baby, he was seen to be very affectionate with her. He had his hand on the small of her back, and he called her Puppet. So we now know one of his sweet names of endearment for his lovely wife.
Very emotional.
Yeah, it's very emotional, and it's such a special time. I think any parent, I think, will probably sort of know what this feeling feels like. So.
Very special.
Prince Harry is known for his lovable and cheeky personality, and on becoming an uncle for the first time, he commented, "I'll make sure he has a good upbringing, keep him out of harm's way, and make sure he has fun. The rest of it, I'll leave to the parents."
Well, I think Harry would be the perfect uncle, all the fun and no responsibility. That sort of is what Harry would like, I'm sure. He's great with kids, Harry. I mean, you only have to see him when he's out in Africa, as I've done with the kids that they sent to Bali refugees, and he's fantastic. He's fun. He's a big kid himself, I think he says it himself. And that, when you like that with children, they sort of do react. And I don't know if it's made him broody. He's got to find the right girl first, I would have thought. But the fact is, he's very, very good with young people, and as an uncle, he'll be the best uncle because it'll be all the fun. I'm sure he'll be taking George to the fun fairs and taking him out as much as he can. I think we get an impression of Harry as being all fun and not very serious. The truth is, Harry is quite a deep-thinking guy. He's a nice person, and I think that with this birth of Prince George, it's probably made him feel a little bit broody, and maybe when he finds the right girl, it won't be long before he's a dad too.
Harry is sure to be a pivotal figure in the life of Prince George, and all this stems from the tight bond that Prince Harry and Prince William share.
You know, I mean, ever since our mother died, obviously we were close, but he is the one person on this earth who I can actually really, you know, we can talk about anything and we understand each other and we give each other support.
Well, really, there are only two people who can understand the upbringing that William and Harry have had, and that's William and Harry. It's a very unusual way to grow up, and then the addition, of course, the tragedy of losing their mother at such a young age bonded the boys to an incredibly deep extent. You know, Harry has said that William is the only person he can tell absolutely everything, and I think for William, it's been said that Harry is the only person he can truly be himself with without worrying about anything conventionally or how it sounds or comes across or if he seems princely. He can just be himself. Harry and William have a great relationship despite the fact that they're very different young men. Harry is much more easygoing and carefree and living by the seat of his pants, and William has always been a bit more serious and studious and sort of more of a straight arrow. However, their affection for each other, their bond is unshakable, and I think it was very important to William that Harry approved of his choice of wife. And, you know, Harry and Kate spent a lot of time together before the wedding, and they have a fantastic relationship. In fact, at the wedding, Harry referred to Kate as his sister, the sister he always wanted. So they have a beautiful relationship, and Kate coming into that picture has only added to things. I think Harry very much envies and looks at the relationship William and Kate have in the family. I think he very much wants that. And we've seen from Harry an attempt to get serious with a couple of very suitable young women who ultimately were not so enthralled about becoming a princess. And that was a big strain on the relationship. I think Harry's finding it difficult to find his own Kate. He likes, you know, carefree, wild, somewhat wild party girls who have a certain type. And a lot of those girls don't necessarily want the strictures of being in the public eye as a royal. They're quite wealthy in their own right. Some of them want to be actresses, and they don't really want the life that Harry can give them, believe it or not.
One thing I've noticed ever since Kate was on the scene is the closeness and the fun between them with her and Harry. I remember even, you know, of social proper events, like big ceremonial events, like the Garter ceremony in Windsor, where Prince William was all dressed up in the fine robes of the 12th century Garter order, and you could see William looking all very serious. But also Kate and Harry were in the audience, and he was just digging her and joking and making fun of his brother. And I'm sure that happens quite a lot because he is a joker. He is fun, and it's quite a good relationship, I think, for her to have Harry as a brother-in-law. There's no doubt you can see that there is a closeness there. I mean, he does take the mickey out of his brother a lot for the fact that he's married and now going to be having 2 kids while he is somewhat carefree, single, living the life. But in time, I'm sure Harry will have all of the things that William's got and probably enjoy it very much.
Considering the extremely close bond Prince William shares with the Middleton family, there is no surprise to learn that Kate's parents are heavily involved with the upbringing of Prince George.
Well, the Middletons are very actively involved in the lives of William and Kate and baby George. In fact, they moved in to the home with William and Kate for several months prior to the birth of the baby, just to kind of oversee the housekeeping staff, make sure things were running smoothly, prepare Kate's favorite smoothies, whatever it was. They wanted to fill in the gaps for Kate as she prepared to become a mom. It has been somewhat interesting to note that Prince Charles and Camilla have been less involved with the Kate-William family, and it has been a matter of some controversy. There were quite a few royal reports from insiders saying that Charles was unhappy and felt he was being shut out a bit in the life of Prince George, and that Carol Middleton and her husband Michael had kind of taken over, usurped his position within the family. And there have been quite a few rumors that Charles and Camilla felt a bit slighted and would like to be more actively involved in the young family's life.
There's a lot of talk that Prince Charles has been bemoaning the fact that he doesn't see his grandson enough. I think that's somewhat disingenuous. I mean, I noticed there was a photograph in a recent video of him with him cuddling his grandson right next to him, making the point that, yes, I do see my grandson, and yes, we do have a good relationship. That
was very carefully strategized and calculated because he wants the world to know that he's very keen to be a part of George's life. George is important to him, and despite the fact that Charles isn't as involved in the day-to-day lives of William and Kate and their children, he wants to be very much a part of things.
There's been talk in the tabloid media about William's almost been Middletonized, i.e. he spends far too much time with Kate's family. I think he spends a lot of time with them because he quite enjoys their company. He has done since they first started dating, over a decade ago now. So, the reality is he knows them very well, and Kate, as like a lot of girls, likes to spend time with her mum and dad. So there's nothing unusual in that, but they do see them quite a lot, and I think Carol does a fair bit of babysitting for her grandson.
I think it's been, demonstrated again and again the kind of parent and family that William wants, and he's certainly going to be getting a lot more help and inspiration from the Middleton family than he is from his own father, perhaps. That's not to say that Charles won't be involved or have a part to play in Prince William's life, but I don't think he's going to be modeling Father of the Year anytime soon.
Look, if Diana was alive, I'm sure she'd have a big input into the life of Prince George, but it's difficult for someone like Camilla, given the history and the fact that she's the step-grandmother, to play the same role as Carol. But I think they have a pretty normal existence in terms of the way that any families would interact.
Since the birth of their baby boy, Prince William and Kate Middleton's lives have been thrust even further into the public spotlight. With one topic hot on people's agendas, what are William and Kate like as parents?
They're very much hands-on parents. I mean, William made it very clear when George was born that he wanted to be a hands-on parent. He took time off to spend with George and Kate. They didn't have a nanny straight away. They were very anti having an extended staff to look after their children, look after them. But I think as time has gone on, they've realised they do need that extra help. They can't just rely upon, say, Carol, Kate's mother, and other members of the family. They do need that because they're very much in the public eye.
Well, William and Kate, as parents, we know are very structured. From what we've heard coming out of the palace, Prince George is on a very strict schedule that never deviates. You know, he has his meals at a certain time, his tea, his goes to bed at a certain time, his naps. Everything is regimented. They have a nanny from Spain who is a very thorough and organized young woman, no nonsense, and that is how George is being raised.
But William, in particular, wants to be a hands-on parent. Kate, too, doesn't really want to pass on the responsibility of motherhood either. But you know, when you're in the royal family, when you're in the public eye, it's very, very difficult to do everything. And I think that even Kate and William have found that, and so they are now realizing that it's important to have the extra help that they require.
Kate and William are strict parents. You know, I read somewhere that they mostly bought him toys made of wood because that was traditional. I can't imagine anything worse. But again, they are following the royal customs and traditions. They are not overindulging or spoiling this little boy as much as they can. Having said that, they have an awful lot of help. In addition to their full-time nanny, they have other nannies who come in and help. They have a full staff of servants. Having said that, Kate has broken precedents in the sense that she does more for herself than anyone else in her position has ever done before. In fact, not long ago, Kate and William's head housekeeper and head gardener both quit. They were a married couple. And it was very controversial because they had actually worked for the Queen previously and then come over to work for Prince William and Kate. There was a lot of speculation at the time that Carol Middleton had been interfering in the housekeeper's duties, that Kate Middleton was doing a lot for herself, and that didn't sit too well with the staff. You know, Kate's in a difficult position because she didn't grow up with household servants, and she likes to cook, for example. She likes to do things for William and very much likes the privacy that one gets without servants around. At the same time, William grew up with a retinue of servants and staff, and he has a certain lifestyle. So it's a balance, I think, of those two things, the privacy that they want and also Kate feeling like she's taking care of her own home. But at the same time, you know, there's public engagements, there's all kinds of things that require her attention, and they do need a lot of help. But it is a balance I'm not sure that Kate's figured out yet exactly how to do. Of course, having more children is only going to add to her responsibilities and pressure, and she probably will have to bring on some more members of staff, even if it's reluctant.
Given that Kate Middleton was an outsider coming into the royal family, there is no question that she would have to have made a great impression on Queen Elizabeth, a woman who is no doubt hard to impress.
Well, the Queen wears two hats, and one of them being a crown. As Queen, she's obviously thrilled, I'm sure, that Prince William is in a happy marriage, that the heir is born in Prince George. That's the role, to make sure that the line of succession is secured. But as a grandmother and a great-grandmother, I'm sure she's absolutely thrilled with the way that the William and Kate are in love and they're enjoying a happy marriage together. It's very stable.
Well, Queen Elizabeth is probably a tough person to impress, and I can only imagine the nerves that Kate must have felt being a commoner and meeting the Queen for the first time. She didn't come from the aristocratic class that would have perhaps already met the Queen at various occasions and certainly had family members who had. Kate came in completely from the outside into this very tight-knit royal circle. To her great credit, Queen Elizabeth appears to have also learned from the lessons of Diana and really welcomed Kate into the family in a way that I don't think Diana was ever exactly welcomed. And Kate was given a lot of support by royal staff and royal household as she grew into the role of being a duchess, of being a princess. They gave her time and space and resources in order to help and support her in that role, and it's done wonders.
She always used to say that it was important that her grandchildren, particularly William and Harry, enjoy a long courtship so that people coming into the royal family understand the intricacies and difficulties of being a member of the royal family. And I think that has certainly paid off in the case of William and Kate. They're a stable, happy family. They represent what is good about marriage and what is good about having an extended family. And the royal family themselves, that is part of their role. And I'm sure the Queen is delighted with that.
Queen Elizabeth is said to be very fond of Kate Middleton. She likes her British sensibility. She likes her middle-class values. She likes that she's close to her family. And Kate has never tried to garner extra attention for herself. There's nothing flashy or showy. Kate toes the company line all the time. And that's something that Queen Elizabeth very much wanted from Diana, which didn't happen. She wanted from Sarah Ferguson, which didn't happen, but has very much so happened with Kate Middleton. There are lots of people who believe Kate is a special favorite of the Queen's because of the way she continuously, consistently supports the family, supports William, and never seems to put a step wrong.
So it seems Kate Middleton has the utmost respect from the Queen Mother. But how do the British media and public view Kate?
We get the impression, I think, from the media that Kate is very careful, she dresses very conservatively, that she's not going to put her foot wrong. In fact, she'd prefer not to do anything than put her foot wrong, which I do think is probably correct. I personally think that she should be a bit more outgoing, a bit more adventurous, and try really to expand her role and her interests, because if you think at Princess Diana, she had hundreds of charities and organisations that she was patron of and supported. Kate has only a handful. I understand that she wants to spend more time with those and more time with her family, but I think it would probably help if she was a bit more flamboyant. We have a very particular picture of her in that respect. She's quite reserved. But, you know, this is the same girl that when she was trying to pull Prince William, she was wearing a see-through out dress and sashayed down a catwalk. So, and she is quite, you know, that's quite a bold thing to do. So she can't have been too shy or backward at coming forward in that respect. So I think we get one impression of her in that respect. When they split up, she went to a bunny girl party, dressed with the ears and everything. So look, there's got to be two sides to her, but at the moment she doesn't really seem to want to put her foot wrong, and I don't think she will for a while. She wants to play the supporting role to Prince William. She doesn't necessarily want to do what Princess Diana did, which was almost forge her own royal career, and that in a way limits her. I hope in the coming years we'll see a bit more of her personality in the public role that she performs.
Given that Princess Diana was such an avid supporter of hundreds of charities around the world, supporting charities is an aspect of life that has been ingrained into Prince William from a very early age.
Well, you know, Prince William is involved with quite a few charities. One in particular, he's been involved in AIDS work and AIDS charities since he was very young. And of course, that came from a deep commitment that his mother, Diana, had to the cause. Prince William is also involved in several charities related to Africa. You know, Africa was very much a part of his experience between high school and university. And he went out there and had a gap year, as they call it, and really fell in love with the country. So he and Harry both actually have been involved in several charities in Africa as well. William is also involved very much so with a charity called Centrepoint, which is an organization that works to help the homeless. You know, Princess Diana originally kind of got both William and Harry interested in this subject by introducing them and taking them out to meet and talk to homeless people. She always wanted them to see there was another side to their very gilded life in the palace. And since her untimely death, William has continued to be active and involved in Centrepoint. He's even spent the night out on the streets with homeless people just within the past few years. I think it helps to give him perspective in the midst of his oftentimes very glamorous life.
It's not just about palaces and privilege, it was about paupers and people that were in dire straits. And I think that's something that's been embedded in his mind ever since. He's somebody, I think, that cares deeply about issues, but the homeless is one that he's actively involved with. He's also very keen in trying to help young people that are on drugs and are trying to get through that problem. And he does lend a lot of support to that. And in fact, it's my understanding he's not only doing stuff where he helps himself, he actually does put his money where his mouth is, and through his foundation, he has contributed quite a lot of money to assisting people in this regard. But William, really, his primary focus has been conservation, and particularly the conservation of endangered species. That's one of the most important charities that you see him speaking out on most of the time, saving the elephant, saving the tiger. And he tries to do it in quite an interesting way as well. He's done direct YouTube appeals where he's talking straight down the lens. He makes very passionate speeches in quite difficult circumstances sometimes, in places where it's slightly embarrassing to be speaking so publicly against countries that have not really done very much to save wildlife. That is one of his main concerns. He spent a lot of time in his youth in Africa, and I think it's certainly the role of his father, Prince Charles, in conservation has had a big impact upon him. It's something he's deeply, deeply passionate about. I mean, William and Kate are quite private, but they also are aware of their public role. And before we went to Australia, there was a wonderful reception at Kensington Palace for a few members of the media. I was lucky enough to be one of them, where we were introduced to baby George. And it was quite fun, really, because I was chatting to Harry in an ante-room about his role and what he's doing next. He said, "You don't want to waste too much time with me, because I think the baby has been brought out." So I slipped into the other room and chatted to Kate, and as I was standing there with my glass, little George was trying to grab hold of the stem. So he's quite a boisterous character. About halfway through the reception, he decided to burst into tears, so they took him out. But that shows you the type of people they are. They realise they have a public role to play and have to mingle with the media, even though sometimes they don't want to, as well as trying very hard to have a very firm grip on their privacy. And that's really why they do these things.
In early 2014, it was confirmed that Prince William and Kate Middleton, along with Prince George, would be touring Australia and New Zealand.
The trip to Australia was truly amazing, actually, in terms of the response. I think that they certainly dubbed Prince George the Republican Slayer, because in terms of popularity of the monarchy, it soared. I was covering it for one of the leading networks in Australia, and they were doing hour-long specials live from the events, such as at Manly Beach, when they arrived there, when there were thousands and thousands of people just there to see them. The truth of it is, though, is that they were the star attraction, and have been a star attraction for some time in Australia and New Zealand. People love the connection with the royal family in that part of the world, because they're not only celebrity, but there's a connection with them. They're technically one day going to be the King and Queen of Australia. So it was a huge event, and I went to a reception before that at Kensington Palace, where William and Kate came out, and they were introducing the media that were travelling to the little George, and he was in great form. And they were quite nervous, I think, Kate in particular, about the reception they were going to receive. How big would it be? And they knew it was going to be huge. But I don't think even when they got there, they expected it to be as huge as it was. They went to the Taronga Zoo in Sydney, which is a fabulous zoo. It overlooks the Sydney Harbour, and it was a brilliant engagement. They went there primarily as the main engagement for Prince George. He was going to be filmed and photographed in the Bilby area, which is a compound. A bilby's seemed to me a bit like a cross between a rabbit and a rat. It was just an Australian animal, and he was taken by that. And it was quite an interesting little interaction, because he was quite a bruiser. He was presented with a baby cuddly toy Bilby, which he decided to throw. He was, when he was dribbling, she wiped away his dribble on her skirt.
Israel, please, thank you.
Just, I guess, the Royal Highnesses, thank you so much for coming to Australia and to acknowledge the official commemoration of Prince George's birth and the joy that he brought to the world, and particularly to New Zealanders and Australians over the last week and a half. So, this week, we invite you to unveil the Prince George of Cambridge Bilby exhibit. Now, we do have a small gift for Prince George to acknowledge his time here. This is a bilby, an Australian bilby with a Taronga Zoo bilby and cat. Just as a reminder for when he's a bit older. And we have a tradition in Australia on our cars to put something with a child on board. A bit of wild trust.
Very appropriate.
A bit of fun. So I don't know the motorcade might be unappropriate on some occasions. You know that.
Yeah, exactly. Gonna get a lot of chewing.
Very chewable.
Very chewable. Munch, munch, munch. Guys?
All right. Okay then.
He does love it, honestly.
I've seen enough films, I think.
Fact was, they were quite relaxed, and it was a good engagement, and it certainly was the lead item on all the networks in Australia and in fact all around the world that day, because we hadn't really seen much of Prince George. In truth, there's barely been any footage of him since. There was that footage in New Zealand, the footage at the zoo, and a little bit of footage in the UK, and that's it. There's been very, very little seen of Prince George in this country.
Kate Middleton's second pregnancy was announced on September 8, 2014. The child will be fourth in line to the throne.
Ever since Prince George was born, it seems that the world has been waiting for the next announcement, when's the next baby coming. So there was an awful lot of pressure, I think, on Kate and William. But yes, the heir and the spare is what's necessary if you're going to be a king, and Prince William is going to be the king. So that's the way it was expected.
As with the first pregnancy, the Duchess suffered with severe morning sickness and was forced to cancel many public appearances.
Sir, congratulations.
Hi, sir. Congratulations. How's Catherine feeling?
She's feeling okay, thanks. It's been a tricky few days, week or so, but obviously we're immensely thrilled. It's great news. Early days, but I'm hoping things settle down and she feels a bit better. But it's important that we all focus on the big news and the big international and domestic things that are going on at the moment. So that's where my sort of thoughts are at the moment. I'm going to go back and look after her now.
It's early days, but you must be very excited.
Thank you.
Again, it's not what William and Kate wanted. They very much wanted the pregnancy to kind of go a little bit farther along before they confirmed to the world. But again, their hand was forced because of Kate's morning sickness. Some women get morning sickness not until, 6 or 7 weeks in, but Kate seems to get it almost immediately and to a very great degree. So the fact that she was forced to start canceling appearances meant that the palace was forced to confirm the second baby was on the way. The nation rejoiced. Everybody's happy and delighted to see this beautiful young family grow and expand, and they seem to be very loving and caring and beautiful parents. Kate certainly looks as good or better as she ever did before she had her first baby, so it doesn't seem to be taking any kind of a toll, and everybody's really just happy for them.
The excitement, I think, has been growing. It's not to the same degree as it was with the birth of Prince George, but I think that when the briefings happen and when the first cameras are set outside the Lindo wing, then all the networks around the world and other newspaper organisations will add to the excitement of this event. I don't think it will be the same level as with Prince George. I don't think that there'll be it was just ridiculous at some stages. I think they will try to control it a lot more by not allowing the cameras and the ladders to go down for the newspaper media organisations. That will stop some of the hype that was building up around the birth of the first baby.
With the announcement of the second pregnancy, the world is now desperate to know what Will and Kate will name the baby. With bookmakers all over the world taking bets for the name, there is one clear favorite.
Yeah, at the moment, the big money is on Princess Alice, and Alice, of course, was the name of one of Queen Victoria's daughters. So that now is at 2-1 favourite, and the boys' names are at 20-1. So it seems since Kate was out in public and she said that she thinks it's a girl because she's eaten a lot of chocolate. Yeah, it seems that seems to be favourite, that the little girl would add a lot of interest, I think, because the idea of another boy, it's almost like William and Harry again, but a little girl would be something different, something new, and I'm sure it would lead to excitement.
Kate apparently has been craving sweets the entire pregnancy, particularly chocolate, and she was overheard saying that she thinks it's got to be a girl because it's such a different pregnancy than she had the last time with George. The couple, again, very famously, has said they don't want to know in advance. They want to be surprised. So we believe that they don't know until the baby is born. But very recently, bookmakers around the country were slashing the odds that the baby would be a girl and called Alice. Apparently there was a flurry of activity and bets were being placed, and everybody was betting on Alice. So the speculation now is that somebody had some inside information, which they felt free to pass over to some other people at Sunday lunch, and then everybody went out and bet. So they're no longer taking bets on the name Alice, and that's what most people are guessing.
What is interesting, of course, is if William and Kate had a little girl first, because of the change in the law of primogeniture, that little girl, for the first time in the 1,000 years of royal history, would have been automatically the Queen. That law has now changed, and so George will be the next in line to the throne after William, but the little girl will obviously take her place, and if they have any more children, if it's a little boy, she automatically stays in the position in the line to the throne. So there are a few changes. They're becoming more equal. But I think it'll generally add a lot of excitement. If it's a little girl, you know, all the shopping that Kate will be doing down the King's Road, buying little dresses, you know, you're going to get the TV crews around the world really interested in seeing the first pictures. So, you know, I hope it is a little girl because it'll certainly add a different twist to the royal story.
Prince William and Kate Middleton's fairy tale romance has been the most captivating and followed British royal story of recent times. With the addition of Prince George Alexander Louis, their family grew, along with their popularity. With another baby on the way very soon, Prince William and Kate Middleton's family life is bound to be the talk of the entire showbiz world.
Prince William has said publicly he would like to have 2 children. It looks like this game changer, as he called it, is going to happen pretty soon. I'm not so sure that they will have any more children after that. I think Kate would quite like it. She comes from a family of 3 kids herself. I'm not sure Prince William would. And also the thing about royal family is they will be expected to do more and more public duties as time passes. And that's difficult when you've got an extended family.
One of the reasons he fell so deeply in love with Kate Middleton was her very British upbringing, her very close family, and William is determined to replicate that as best as he can within the confines and strictures of the palace. His boy, his son, his daughter, they may grow up to be princes and kings and queens, but he wants them to have a great relationship with their parents and with each other. That's first and foremost going to be part of their royal upbringing. You know, Prince William is a very loving, warm individual, and he and Kate have a very solid and affectionate relationship. They want that to translate to their children, and although they do have some support staff, they have kept it to a minimum because they don't want outsiders in any way affecting the dynamic of their close family unit. Now they're anxiously, excitedly expecting their second child, but there's every reason to believe they will continue on having more. This is going to be, by their intentions, I believe, a very large and happy family.